So, my name is Jenny Clark, and I am actually relatively new to CAMUS, as well as to the project management world as a whole. I spent the majority of my career, and I won't tell you how many years that was, because that might give away my age, on the technology side of Xerox, the copiers that you all know and love, and recently joined the CAMUS project. But during my career with the technology side, I managed a number of teams and a number of work groups to deliver administrative requirements to our customers, and have a lot of experience on the management side of the house. My partners, Maria and Paul, they did the heavy lifting today. They've talked to you about governance. They've talked to you about leveraging resources and library of resources. I get the soft stuff, because I'm new to the project management world. I get the people part of the project, but I think we all know that people can make or break a project, right? So I hope to be able to share with you my 30 years of management experience, and to share tips for effective team building that I have learned both on this project and in those years of managing. But first of all, I need a volunteer. Oh, I just skipped right over. You know, I spent a lot of time putting that together. So let me just show it to you for a moment, okay? I am also a PM and EPMO. So we're going to start with a little bit of an exercise, because I think you need to move and groove a little bit. I need a volunteer. Who would like to volunteer to be my victim? It's not hard, honest. Oh, come on up.
I'll have to go what?
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to be on the camera.
She needs a prize. And what is your name? Doris. Doris? Doris with a D.
Doris with a D. Okay, Doris with a D. So here's the deal. I have this Cal King sheet.
Okay.
The kind with the big, deep pockets.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I have this.
We're gonna... all messed up.
Okay.
Can you fold it for me, please? Paul, if you would time this.
Sure.
So, no pressure, you know, take your time, whatever it takes. But I'd like it neat. I'd like it neat. I was supposed to pick a man, a short man, who didn't fold sheets often, but here I pick a woman who's got the hang of. Yeah. Oh, coming along really well there. Whoa, look at this. She's motoring.
Something like that, almost. It's always at the bottom where I always have problems.
You didn't even use the floor. I usually use the floor.
Or I use my bed. Something like that.
Wow, that was awesome.
Oh, wow. Looky there. Very nice. Good job. No, hey, whoa. We're not doing So, but now you get to pick 3 people you want to help you.
Oh, well.
So just point out, who would you like to help you?
I think the gentleman in the blue shirt with the tie in the very back, glasses.
Okay, come on.
No, don't look back,
Don't
that's you. Okay, so that's one. I think the lady over here in the teal shirt. And,
Come on up, guys.
and I think this gentleman right over here with the tie and the good shoes.
Okay, come on up. Oh, he's slipping around, coming in the side door. Okay, well, I undo all your beautiful work. I'm going to give you guys 20 seconds to collaborate about how you're going to do it this time. How you're going to get the sheet folded.
Do we elect a project manager?
But at this point, I think you're the project manager. You've already been through the process. Decided how you want to do it.
How are we going to do this one?
So, you can whisper. Yeah, I went for the corners, so I grabbed 2 corners, put them over, then I did the other 2 corners, tuck them all the corners in together, and then start.
Do we all have to take a corner and hang each other up? You can try that.
Sure, are you ready?
We all have
Well,
to be
I don't know if we're
involved,
ready,
right?
but.
So Paula, how long did it take the first time around?
55 seconds.
55 seconds, okay. So, you're in charge. And tell us when you're ready to start, once you have your team engaged.
Sure, why not? Okay, ready? Go. Okay, everybody grab a corner. Okay, these 2 corners come together.
Ready, set, go, okay.
Okay, and then in. Got it? Flip it the other way. There you go. Okay, and then bring these 2 corners together. And then in. Okay, and then angle. So here, you grab this corner. We'll all be involved. There you go. And then flip that, no, wait. Just fold so that it's a straight line. Yeah, so fold your end in so it's straight.
so
There you
it's
go.
straight.
Yeah,
Wow,
straight.
look at there.
And then we'll bring
I learned a new tip.
There you go. And then bring those 2 up. There you go. And then fold again.
Done. How long?
45.
Okay. And that is a lot lovelier than the first time around. Are you a PM?
Yes.
You are, okay. That's for the evidence. Thank you so much, all of you. So obviously, we wanted to get you up and to have...
I learned something.
What's the secret? I also have a little secret on that little exercise. I used to be a CNA, certified nursing assistant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do things fast.
I couldn't have asked for a better volunteer. Thank you for that. So obviously, part of the purpose of that was to have a little bit of fun and to get up and move a little bit. But the other part was to demonstrate that we can often be much more effective as a team in getting things accomplished than we can as an individual. So before I get started on my actual presentation, we're going to talk about leveraging client-vendor work groups to get projects done. But I have to share a little story with you about the first time first and only other time that I did that illustration, because it's kind of funny. It was one of life's most embarrassing moments. I was Sunday school superintendent at my church, and I had been tagged to do the children's story that day. So I'm going to teach the kids about teamwork and how working together to make things happen makes it a whole lot easier, and it's a good value to have and all those kind of things. So I take the sheet that similar to the one I just had, and I shake it out in front. And I inspected this sheet really, really well before I came to visit you today, because what happened was, as I shook it out, a pair of my underwear went flying across the front of the church. Yeah. A little static cling. I hadn't realized I'd folded it up in the sheet. So one of my best friends is the organist. She sees my embarrassment, jumps off the organ bench, comes over, picks it up, throws it behind the pulpit. Yeah. So, not so bad if we'd have remembered to take care of that little issue after the children's story. But no, we took the kids off to Sunday school. Lo and behold, the middle of the service, we do what? We take the offering, right? Pastor reaches down to get the offering baskets out, offering pans from behind the pulpit, and guess what's lying there? Yeah, so that was, I was 21 at the time, hugely embarrassing, and this is the first time I've been brave enough to use that illustration since then.
Grateful there wasn't YouTube then.
Exactly, because I'd have gone viral, I think. So I found a couple of quotes that made me smile. Hopefully they will you as well. Teamwork is the ability to work as a group toward a common vision, even if that vision becomes extremely blurry. We heard Holly say this morning about how rapidly the world is changing, and if you've worked on a project for 2 or 3 or 4 years, probably a lot of things have changed during the course of your project plans, and the vision has become blurry. And then the other is individuals can and do make a difference, but it takes a team to really mess things up. And as a PM, we don't want our team to be the one to mess things up, right? We don't want to get to the end of the project and find that the tracks don't come together because the work group has been going in the wrong direction. So how do we leverage project teams? And I'm speaking specifically to client and vendor work groups. That's what we use at Camus. All of our work groups consist of the client and the vendor. For those of you who do projects for internal organizations, it might be an integrated work group of somebody from the organization that you're doing the project for and the project team. So Wikipedia defines teamwork as a cooperative or coordinated effort on the part of a group of persons acting together as a team or in the interests of a common cause. A small number of individuals with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose, approach, and set of performance goals to which all are held mutually accountable. So typically, project leadership will identify the need for specialized work groups. For example, a testing work group. We've talked a little bit about that. Or maybe implementation, or infrastructure, or data conversion. At Camus, we have work groups. You may call them work teams or user groups, but we're talking about the same kind of thing. So what kind of specialized work groups have some of you had on your projects? Anyone? Testing, architecture?
No collaboration?
No work groups? No? Okay.
And runs the gamut, I think.
Yeah.
Depending on what the project is, you have technical teams, and you've got the analytical teams and the business side.
Okay. So accomplishing great things through teamwork doesn't just happen. We're going to talk a little bit today. There's a number of considerations for having effective work groups. We're going to look at tips to consider regarding work group characteristics. We're going to look at tips for work group processes, including a charter and the meeting process. Talk about meeting process and team roles. We're going to look at some work group dynamics and tips for picking and promoting those that will work best on your work team. Talk a little bit about team development, when it might be necessary to do some team building activities. And we're going to look at collaboration. What is it and how do you use it, particularly in a vendor-client relationship to make things happen? We saw a demonstration of that a little bit earlier in the risk exercise that Marie had for you. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about tips for conflict resolution, because if you've got a work group, there's bound to be some conflict resolution, right? So who determines the need for a work group? Who determines the need for a work group in your organizations? I mentioned it earlier. Typically project leadership, right? Decides whether or not there's specialized work groups that are needed. So let's say that you're the testing PM and you're tasked with putting together a work group or a team. There are a number of things you're going to want to consider. The first is, let's start with the size of the team. A work group can be 2 to 25, but why do you think it says the average is less than 10? What do you think the benefits are of having a work group of 10 or less? Okay, can you get a lot done in a group of 25 people? Got 25 different opinions, right? So it's generally more effective and takes less time to get things done if you have a smaller size work group. So you'll want to consider in your work group members that they have complementary skills. Technical or functional expertise. Obviously, if you're running a testing work group, you want people with testing experience. People who have problem solving and decision making skills. People with good interpersonal skills. They're effective at communicating and they know how to constructively resolve conflict within the team. The work group should have a common purpose and team identity. For example, the testing work group. The work group should also have a common approach. How are they going to assign tasks? When are they going to look at schedules and what are they going to look at in the schedules? How are they going to make decisions? And if you have a number of work groups like we do at Camus, I think we probably have
Oh, gosh, at least 20, maybe 25 individual work groups across many projects.
Right. When you have that many work groups, you kind of want there to be some standardization. IV&V are going to participate in many of those, and they'll be quick to point out if there's some inconsistencies between the work groups. So you may want to put together a work group process or standard operating procedure. In your package, we've given you a framework or a sample to take with you of a standard operating procedure for work group management. We've given you a few takeaways today that hopefully you can take back and tweak and use on your own projects. Finally, mutual accountability. If the work group has common performance goals, they're going to be a little bit more mutually accountable to one another. Yes?
I have a question. I think there's always an assumption when I hear this discussion. So, obviously from the vendor side, you all have it covered because you have to stay current in the skill set. But when you start working with the state, I mean, is there a skill assessment that takes place? Or do you just get the people that you ask for based upon what you ask them? Because I got to be honest with you, I don't think the training is equal. And I think when you just get bodies, you don't necessarily get trained people that know how to participate on these forums. And it to me, contributes to a lot of painful experiences.
It does, absolutely. We're going to try to give you some tools today that will at least help in establishing a framework and a structure by which the work group can be effective. But if they're not all your team members, if they're coming from, for example, in our case, the state, or participants, you don't often have the luxury of taking a lot of time to go through training. But sometimes it's worthwhile to step back and to say, okay, we need to have a little interactive skill training together as a team, so that together you're providing some kind of training and understanding what the expectations are of the work group and how you work together. Because few of us get to choose our work groups. Most of us inherit them. In teams, if you've ever had the opportunity to choose your own, it's wonderful, because you get to pick the people who work just like you do or who complement your skills, but that's not common.
Well, I think the opportunity is there. I'm not so sure we're utilizing it effectively. So today, for example, in the concept area where you're just thinking about it, moving things along, or maybe even when you get to procurement. If procurement takes a year, 2 years, that's plenty enough time for you to be training, getting some people trained. Yeah, I don't see that happening. So I was just curious about how that happens. I'm 4 years into state service, 4.5 years, and so when I came, I made some assumptions that projects, everybody knows how projects are, and then you get into some very basic, I don't know what IEEE is, I don't know how to do a traceability matrix, so I was caught off guard. And so I would have appreciated knowing where people's skills were, and not make that assumption that because I want to go assign the project to go lead it, I think this group of people I'm going to go get are trained, what to do. That wasn't the case at all.
Certainly we don't always, like Jenny mentioned, we don't always get to choose all of our folks and to designate what their skill set is. One of the things that we have seen that's done effectively is routine training, basically. So not everyone knows risk management or issue management or schedule management. Microsoft Project Server and Microsoft Project Schedules are not the friendliest of tools. So we do have training that's available because the project doesn't also always, if you have 100 people at the start, by the time you end, you probably have only 20 of those people. So we schedule these trainings on a routine basis so as people onboard and offboard, we can offer continuous training on some of these standards that everybody has to use every day.
That's good.
Okay, thank you for the question. So I'm going to move us through. I didn't realize we were down to 10 minutes, so yeah, took a lot of time folding sheets. Sorry about that. Well, not so much time, actually. You guys are good. So I want to talk a little bit about a work group charter. I mentioned previously that it's the project leadership who determines whether there's a need for a specialized work group. And at least at the CAMUS project, the first thing a work group is tasked to do is to define and document their charter. And then to demonstrate that they're an approved work group, that charter has to be reviewed by senior management and signed off by senior management. So this is just a sample of some ideas that might be beneficial to have in a work group charter. And instead of going through them on this one, I'm going to take you through this page. This is actually a sample work group charter. I've included a sample that is much more expanded in your package for you to take back and use as you choose. It has tons of instructions in it, so it's like 5 pages long, but this is a simplified version of what those instructions say. First of all, title of the work group. We've been talking about testing, so I use testing. The purpose. The testing work group is responsible for monitoring and reporting the activities related to system tests, performance tests, etc. Meeting frequency. This work group is going to meet every week, once a week. Their decision authority, they support that it's in accordance with the explicit desire for decision making at the lowest possible level, meaning at the work group level, so they're going to work really hard to make sure that they're trying to make decisions at their level. Their decision process, the chairs will collaborate. Remember, in our work groups, we have co-chairs, one from the customer, one from the vendor, so they collaborate when making decisions, and they use a consensus-based decision-making process. You're going to want to define your membership in your charter. Who's going to be a part of that from the customer or from the organization that you're doing the project for? And who are the required participants? What are their roles and responsibilities? What is it the chairs do? Do you have somebody that takes minutes and scribes? Do you have an issue and risk owner, etc.? The documentation. Are you going to have meeting agendas and minutes? Are you going to look at schedules every week? Issues and risks, action items. Then how you're going to communicate. In our case, this is the timing of the communication and the tool. So MS Outlook is the tool. Timing is that meeting materials are sent and posted 2 days prior to a meeting. So everyone has notice of what's going to be happening at that meeting. And that the minutes and action items are posted within 2 days after the meeting. And then you're going to want to define an escalation process. Marie talked to you about governance, and that is our escalation process if the work group cannot come to a decision. But you're going to want to define what your escalation process is. So the one I want to emphasize most is a work group meeting process. How you conduct and run your work group meetings can make or break the effectiveness of your work group. So if I spent time on anything, it would be on this particular one, that facilitation is critical to make sure that you get somewhere. You can spend, I don't know if you've ever been in a meeting where it goes on and on and on and on, and you walk out and go, what happened there? What did we accomplish? So the facilitator is key to keeping the meeting moving and to making sure that you're accomplishing the things you set out to accomplish to start the meeting. Meeting notification and timing. People need to have an awareness of when a meeting is occurring. Consistent day, time is helpful because they'll plan for it. Meeting process, the frequency of the meetings, the content. What are you going to review in your meetings? What inputs do you need from other work groups to get your job done? What outputs are you going to hand off to another work group so that they can get their job done? The roles and responsibilities, meeting minutes, and a central repository for meeting artifacts. So my tip here is that in your package is a standardized agenda that if used and documented as we encourage our work groups to do, it's the framework that will walk you through the meeting so that you accomplish everything you need to accomplish in the time frame. So you'll find that in your package. So let's talk about team roles. A team is defined as an interdependent collection of individuals who work together toward a common goal and who share responsibility for specific outcomes of their organizations. We all know that people are individuals, and as we talked about a little earlier, you may have to pick and choose from different functional managers who's going to support your project team. And bringing together an interdependent collection of individuals can prove kind of challenging. So here are some roles that we might find in projects. And in the interest of time, even though I love this slide, I'm going to let you read them on your own. I'll read a couple. The Maverick. This character does things their own way. They may be effective, but they're a little bit difficult to control. Do we have any Mavericks in the room? Anyone admit they're a Maverick? And of course, the workaholic, this person doesn't know when to stop, and they often believe the office would collapse without them. Paul, do we know anyone that's a workaholic? So the point is, while this is meant, it's cute and kind of funny, the point is that you're going to get all kinds of different people on your work group, on your work team. And your role as a PM or as the work group leader is to assess each of those individuals and how best to use them to the benefit of your particular project. You may end up with a couple of leaders. What would you do? Maybe you'd make them co-leaders so that they're sharing the responsibility. Or maybe you put the maverick together with the team player on a particular task so that they can complement one another in their skills. But it's up to you as the work group leader, if you're the work group leader, to assess the different skills that each of your team members have and to utilize those to the most effectiveness for your project. Work group dynamics, I don't know how long we want to go, Marie. I know we're...
We have a competing priority right now, which is the clock.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say my partners were long-winded, but... I would never do that. These are some work group dynamics to consider, the ones that I would say are the most important under team members. People who have the ability to be open about addressing problems and action-oriented. How many of you have known someone with tremendous technical expertise? They're a subject matter expert on everything, but they can't get a darn thing done, right? So you want people who are open to addressing problems and who are action-oriented. They get things done. Team relationships, organizational environment. Under team leadership, probably the key elements I would say are focused on the goal. You as a leader have to remain focused on the goal and keep your team focused on that goal. Promoting a collaborative environment. It's easy to kind of run over the team, but it kind of defeats the purpose of collaboration. And then setting priorities to make sure that the things that need to get done are getting done. Most of you have probably heard of and seen the Tuckman development model for stages. What I want to point out on this slide, and you can go through it at your leisure, they'll be posted and you have them in your package, is how well it lines up with the Hersey and Blanchard situational model. So the right side tells you how the work group lead, the PM, should function in at each of the different stages of the work group. So as the work group is going through the forming stage, the PM is telling them what they need to do. They're giving direction. The group is very dependent upon the leader for guidance and direction at that point. When they get to the storming stage, the work group leader, none of us like the storming stage, but the work group leader is the one that is promoting compromises so that they can get to some kind of agreement and that can enable some progress. And the leader is coaching them through that. When they reach the norming stage, your job is kind of partway done. You're just participating with the work group. They're taking on some of the leadership role, and you're facilitating and enabling them to do, removing barriers so that they can get the work done. And if you're fortunate enough to ever take a work group to the performing stage, it's delightful. You're not needed much. You're in the role of delegating, and team members might ask for your assistance on occasion, but pretty much they're running on their own and they're getting the work done and they're overachieving their goals. Team building, there's going to come a time when you might want to invest in a team building activity. It's hugely popular right now. You can Google it and it'll give you a number of activities. So I'm going to move on through. Talks about collaboration. Tips for facilitating conflict. I think we probably need to move downstairs. So you have the package. It's pretty self-explanatory. The main thing I wanted to hand off to you were some tools that you could actually use: the agenda, the standard operating procedure for work groups, the charter template, Oh, and one of the best practices that we've found is that if you have a number of work groups don't always follow this is standard operating procedure that you've set for them. I know you find that hard to believe. So as an EPMO organization, we actually developed a checklist, and we go in and we audit all of the work groups on our project to ensure that they're following the process that we've asked them to follow to have an effective work group meeting. Thank you for your time. You've been great. We appreciate you.